Good morning and welcome to another episode of Corner to Copa. I'm here with my co-host, Coach. We are about 2 weeks into spring training. It was a very, very, very slow start. I think we lost our first 5 games, had a couple ties in there, and between the hitting and pitching, I mean, I think that a lot of the pitchers that so far have been guys that are kind of on the outside looking in. Not too many struggling that we plan on seeing come April in Detroit. But the bats started slow as well, and I feel like the last couple of days they've been making up for it a little bit for some lost time. But how you feeling, Coach? What's the temperament right now?
It's kind of there's just so much happening with this team right now. I mean, we're now 2 years consecutive into playoffs, so I think everyone's back on board fully. Last year it was a roller coaster, obviously, especially in the second half. We were riding high, and I think the emphasis is like we just want to be able to get one more round at least into the next level of playoffs. So there's a hyper focus on a lot of these guys and the prospects. So yeah, I mean, we got guys trying new positions, trying to figure out where they could fit in or maybe crack the 26 man. The guy that we protected in Rule 5 is making some noise along with some other guys. And, it's a lot of, justifiable scrutiny. So it's exciting because it's a good problem to have for once. And it's, there's a lot of talent going around. So there's a lot of avenues that the front office can take. So it's a good situation to have, and we got a lot to dive into here, and it's going to be spicy right up until opening day when the final roster is put out there.
Yeah, like you said, we have a lot of things going on, a lot of different avenues that the front office can go with. But on top of everything else, we got the World Baseball Classic coming up. We got some players that are definitely going to be participating in that. Most notably, of course, Tarek Skubal. Now, I think that we got a little bit of clarity from Skubal, and this may have been the Ben Verlander interview. I think that's the only time that he's ever addressed it. But he said that basically. We know that he's going to start one game against Great Britain, no less, and then he'll be done. But the explanation that he gave was that given where he's at in the spring right now, at his max, of course, he's throwing 97 to 101. For him to be at this point throwing, going 5 innings at this progression in springtime, he just can't physically he hasn't physically had enough time to work his way up to that. With that thought, with that those words being said, how do you feel about that, and what are you seeing around the league as far as you even said that maybe somebody alluded to kind of taking some pop shots at him, like, hey, I'm putting it all on the line, but what are you hearing overall?
Yeah, I mean, I think the initial I think it's the right way to categorize it for those that were really reactionary about it. It was an overreaction because it was off the heels of Team USA Winter Olympics, both men's and women's hockey medals, both beating Canada, overtime thrillers, and for those of us here in Michigan specifically, it was basically a Michigan run lead all the way for the gold medals with. A handful of people, including Megan Keller, who went to my rival high school and grew up in my community, which is nuts to think about. But in addition to obviously the men's side too. But I think there was just the patriotism of him wanting to be all in and going for it because it's the closest thing they have to the Olympics. Because baseball players haven't really they're bringing it this next one around for the summer, but that's a new dynamic and they have to work through that. But it does make sense. He said that he even came in early this year just to be able to give himself an opportunity to get one start in, albeit abbreviated and shorter than what we'll see during, May and June when he's really paused, stretched out, ready to go, and he's got the stamina and all that. But, it makes perfect sense logically. You shut down after you throw that long of a year. to rest and recover and just heal up. So that way, when you begin to go through your spring training and ramp up your stamina, you're ready to go, by week 2, by start 2, 3, 4. After that, you're not sore anymore. That was his biggest thing. He goes, I'm sore every time I throw right now. So, and I'm not throwing full. I'm not even going that many pitches compared to what I normally do. It's, that's what a ramp up is essentially. So, he wanted to give something, and this was a mutual agreement, which I figured would be the case when it came out. And he was only going to pitch 1 game. And in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, he's not going to go 7 innings. One, Great Britain's probably not going to be that good where he needs to as well. But, it's not just being able to go that many innings and pitches. If you're reducing your velocity and you're not sure about your control, then you're putting more effort into there to not get the same output. And that can be dangerous from an injury standpoint.
Absolutely. It's all about longevity. We need this guy around in October, giving us pivotal innings down the stretch. So I will take his word for it. He knows his body better than anybody. Nobody works harder. No one is, he puts it all on the line every time. So I'm at peace with it. A lot of great players on the USA side. So we'll be fine. But as we talk about injuries and things of that nature, we've got a little bit more clarity and some news about Troy Melton. The reports are that he's being shut down for I think the entirety of spring training, and he probably won't be ready for opening day. I think he's already been interviewed by the press and said that he's not really concerned, and it is elbow inflammation, but he's not concerned with it being something more serious. Do you have any reservations about where he's at right now, and do you have any issue, thoughts that maybe this is just preliminary for the inevitable, Because when I saw the graphic of him, that graphic on Instagram, it's the picture and it's like dun dun dun, like and you gotta you're scared to click on the caption to see what is it like. Oh, he's on the IL. Oh, he's out for the But where are you at with it?
It is a general level of a moderate concern, because I think historically when we've heard that, especially, and it's more so been in guys that have been old, like later in their career. Max Scherzer was a good example. Went through it just a few years ago. It didn't pitch for like a good 2 months. It started as fatigue and soreness, which we accustomed to hearing, the quote unquote dead arm. Like, I just can't throw, my velocity's down. Something is that's usually an indicator that something is wrong. And not to go there and say this is what it is, that they're not saying, Job's last start in Colorado, his velocity was down almost 2 miles an hour, which is a lot for a power pitcher. And it wasn't just a pitch here and there; it was consistency. So when you notice and you notice that and you see that something's obviously wrong, and they're hoping that, my guess is that by shutting him down and just trying to let his body heal and getting treatment of some kind, I would imagine, in some way, shape, or form, that it ends up healing itself naturally to the point where then he can go back out there, kind of restart his own spring training at the beginning of the year, and then get to the point where he's cleared and ready and ramped up himself and ready to contribute whenever we need him, whether it's out of the rotation or the pen.
All right. And while we're on the topic of pitchers and all that type of stuff, let's talk about the ABS system. It's going to be a very hot topic throughout the season as we try this out for the first time. Anything you're seeing as far as, especially, being an umpire at this current juncture, anything interesting you're seeing as they have kind of highlighted the different, challenges and all that type of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the feedback so far has been pretty good for, I don't want to say maybe the average fan, but someone that's a little more invested into the sport and their team. It doesn't take very long. These things take less than like 5, 6, 7 seconds to render a decision. And I'll say it, there's been some instances, especially the other day, where one dude just whiffed 5 straight pitches in a row, which is an exception, and these guys are trying to get work in themselves as well. Everyone's, warming up. So you take that with some grain of salt. because these guys usually do mostly night games, and now they're doing all day games to start. So it's a little bit of a transition. But that aside, the strategy I think with this going forward is it's going to be mostly catcher and hitter generated in terms of requesting the challenge. I think there was a link I sent you regarding the New York Yankees pitcher who with John Boy Media did actually a good job kind of breaking it down. You know, the herky jerkiness of the delivery, especially out of the windup when you're rocking all over the place on the mound before you deliver the ball. He's falling off the mound, and it's kind of a close pitch, but I think from that center field angle, it looked like it was probably a ball fairly positively. And he wanted to challenge it. And the catcher's like, no, absolutely not. Off the plate. But right. He overrode him. And when an umpire sees that, he's not going to look at the catcher and say, you have like, for basketball is a good example. It changed to where in college, the coach is no longer able to call a timeout because they had issues with bench people accidentally calling for it or granting it when it was requested. So it's just the players on the court only for easy visual. Well, right. If you get a pitcher and catcher that are contradicting each other, they're going to go with the guy that wants it because they have a limited time to request it. But to that point of that example, and Chris Sale, I think, obviously earlier in the week, way back beginning of the week, made a point himself. He goes, "I'm never going to." He goes, "Every pitch I want, every punch I throw, I want a strike, and I know it's not always going to be a strike. So it'd be stupid for me to, of my own arrogance, think that I can overturn a call." But my catcher's right there. He has the best look at it. So it is weird because we've seen some telecasts so far that are calling it, oh, it is just off the plate or whatever, and they challenge it. Well, then the ABS system, which is the true system that they use for the valuations of the strike zone, shows, oh, it did just nick it, and we overturn it. I mean, that's how small margin this is. And I've seen some instances where people are like, well, we need some margin of error because it's changing. It's going to change the way that hitters approach, because if you just nick it, it's technically a strike. But in the spirit of the game and being able to really drive the ball, is it? But that's an ongoing conversation for the efficiency of the system beyond just this year, though. But overall, I think the aim of it is good. We want to get the calls right. That's what replay's for. And I think at the end of the day, it'll end up benefiting both the hitter, the pitcher, and the catcher.
Yeah, and the reality is this: the catcher's going to have the better vantage point. It's the same reason why home plate umpires stand behind a plate as opposed to having them call balls and strike from the second base side. You know, so there's a reason for that. Obviously, there's some advantage that they have. So yeah, I think eventually they'll work those things out, and they'll find the numbers that the percentage of the catcher challenging is going to be a higher win rate than from the pitcher. MSU Detroit fan did bye Parker Meadows. Hey, stay tuned. We definitely gonna talk about it. Yeah, let's get into that's the one big thing I'm taking away so far in spring training. Hey, let's take the first break, and on the other side of that, we'll see what we got going on. All right, MSU Detroit fan shooting off the hip early. As I said, the bat started slow, but they have kind of turned things up over the last few days. Let me pull up the Tigers schedule. See what's been that this week. Do I want the schedule? No, I want to see the scores. Definitely have scored double digits in the last few games, if I remember correctly. Oh, here we go. 12-3 and 16-8 in the last two games. And like I said, we've sprinkled in a couple ties, but yeah, the bats have been dominant. And before we get to the bats, pitching wise, it's tough. We haven't seen, we've seen Skubal for an inning. We've seen a couple short outings from Flaherty. Today we actually have a nice little pitching lineup. We have Skubal, Kenley Jansen, Kyle Finnegan, Will Vest, and Emmanuel De Jesus. So, first four are guys that you're going to see a whole lot. These are pretty important guys. I think Vest got touched up a little bit in his only outing. But yeah, we've yet to see Kenley Jansen, and I think Kyle Finnegan pitched one time and didn't give up a run. So yeah, we'll get a little bit more evaluation from the pitchers soon. The guys that have jumped out to me are Kiter Montero and Drew Anderson. Now, Kiter has been getting touched up a little bit, but the velocity has been up. I think he's touched as high as 98?
98, I think almost 99 too. I mean, it's like 3 miles an hour faster from last year, which is bonkers.
Yeah. So I think that we are going to see this slowly. I think they're going to be the transition from him being a starter to him being more of a reliever. Yeah, I think that when we max out and we're at our best, you're not going to see him getting too many starts. And obviously, if you know that you're only going to have to go 1 or 2 innings, you can kind of just max out and really let it rip. So good to see that. And then as MSU Detroit fan talks about, Drew Anderson might not be as I thought, still iffy on being a starter, but now with Troy Melton injured, we might see him take bottom spots. Yeah. And his velocity has been up as well. I don't think he's given up a run as of yet. 33% whiffs in his first outing. And I think his second outing was pretty good as well. So, yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing from the pitching staff. I think they said that Dylan Smith and Ty Madden got optioned to AAA. So we're going to be seeing a lot more of our regulars, which is why you're seeing a Jansen, a Finnegan, a Skubal all on one day. But in any other, I mean, it's tough in spring training because you're not watching a lot of the games. It's a lot of box score watching. But any other takeaways that you're seeing as far as the pitching is concerned before we get into the hitters?
Yeah, not really. It's still early, right? What are we, 9, 10, maybe 10 calendar days into spring training schedule? A lot of these guys have played anywhere between 4 and 5 games, but albeit they're playing a third to half of the games. They might get 2 at-bats and then they're rotating in the bench. All these guys are getting opportunities. So I kind of take the hitting aspect with it from a big grain of salt, aside from their exit velocity, how they're putting the ball in play, not just the absolute result of the hit. Oh, he hit a 2-run double. Well, he could have, hit a blooper down the line, dinked one down there, which isn't really impressive. Hit's a hit, but I think the other side of it too is, though, you look at Vierling is off to a very hot start, which is good to see, considering see the Detroit fan kind of leading into it a little bit about Parker Meadows, and we were leaning on Javi a lot last year. So that's good to see, because we were kind of on him about possibly getting, let go and be like, thanks, but, we probably deserve an opportunity elsewhere, considering the logjam we have in the outfield. But this is a good problem to have. And from a pitching standpoint, we do want to see some of these other guys that haven't had an opportunity yet. JV still TBD on when he'll get his first look in actual spring training. He's had some live BP sessions, but it was interesting. You mentioned the Skubal and Ben Verlander. He did drop Emmanuel Clase A specifically on that episode and said he's got some nasty stuff. So that kind of caught my attention, because this guy wasn't really on the radar at all. And you get Skubal dropping your name voluntarily in the mix of guys like Drew Anderson. And
wait, you said Emmanuel Clase A.
Sorry, the guy who's pitching on the schedule for today for us, Emmanuel.
Oh, De Jesus.
Sorry.
I was going to say, what is he talking about, Class A?
Yeah. We talked about Class A, but that's been a totally different light, not this kind of good light. So, that's my apologies on that. So the fact that, Skubal was mentioning this guy who wasn't on the radar is pretty interesting. So probably Well, I think they're on TV today. I think Benetti Wright is doing it on MLB TV. So
MLB TV, yeah.
it should be free for everyone. No blackout to those in Detroit area. But yeah, we'll see how those guys kind of get locked in. And Rogers right now is doing a lot of the battery catching because of Dingler's elbow clean out arthroscopic minor procedure he had, and he's only hitting right now. So that's the only other thing I would like to see, in the next week or two is him get back there and just see that, nothing is lingering from that clean out.
Yep. And that's why Rogers is going to hang on, because if you're going to, especially this is a perfect opportunity for him to get to catch for Skubal in a game that regular season Dingler would be catching, but why not? Let's catch up on what MSU Detroit fan has to say. Let's see. Great defender. Talking about Parker Meadows. Great defender, but the glove ain't gonna matter. He's 0.71. Yeah, pretty bad. I guess Parker hitting issues is why Vierling is re-signed. Yeah, for sure. Yep. And he's stepping right in, which is what we wanted to see. He's one of the guys that I had circled, like, hey, you didn't have a spring training last year, so let's see what you got. And he's making it happen. He said Drew Anderson might not be as bad as I thought still. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We were at that. Okay. That's what he was saying. Not as bad as you thought. Okay. He said, Kiter, he said, I was a Kiter defender last year, so I like seeing him improve, although he's going to be a bullpen guy, probably starting doubleheaders or injuries. Yeah. Yep. Like having insurance is a starting pitching, because that's always a problem. Don't need an early JV retirement due to a blown arm. Oh, God, don't even say that. No Olsen and Joe Melton, already a red flag. Yeah. Skubal injury kills a trade, means Chris will lowball once again. Oh, God. and then he corrected Emmanuel De La Santos. Yeah. All right. So I guess we can get to the lineup out of the way, because we kind of alluded to things already. I already told you who's pitching today, so let's check this lineup today. I hate this mouse so much.
Looking like the game 1 lineup from last year with Parker on the shelf.
Right, yeah. So so we got Kerry Carpenter leading off. Put your best hitter out there for the most at bats on some Ohtani-ish. Gleyber in the 2, which is a staple. You got Riley. Riley's got to get going. He doesn't have a hit yet. He's got a couple sharp line drives. I like the fact that he walked 3 times. Spring training is for you to 3 times in one game. Spring training is for you to kind of work out the kinks. Obviously, once the regular season starts, that's out of the way. But for the time being, hey, if he's taking some walks, I'm not mad at that. That will, increase his on base. It'll force guys to throw him strikes, because there was points of that last year where it was like, throw him whatever, he'll swing. Now, if he makes contact, it's gone. But it's going to force people to throw him strikes. Torque has started off slow. You love to see Dylan back in the lineup. He went 1 for 2 in his return. This is the part of the lineup that's not all that realistic. You're not going to see Dingler DHing and Rogers starting. We did see that a few times on games where they wanted to give Dingler a day off, but if Rogers isn't hitting, it's not going to happen. Cole Keith at third, Javi in center. That's another thing that you very well might see, which parlays right into Kevin McGonigal. If you want, Javi's been hitting well. He hit a home run earlier this week. So he's looking in midseason form. And then in order to keep Javi and McGonigal in the lineup together, you put him in center, pushing Meadows out and McGonigal at short. So we're going to get an opportunity to see how he fares. And then we got Jake Rogers, as we said, as the battery mate for Tarik Skubal. So I like this. The only thing that I will see that will be different in the regular season is, Dingler will be catching, and then you'll see probably Wenceel Perez if he's around, or who else would be a DH? Jahmai Jones if it's up against a lefty.
Yeah, he needs going too. I don't think he's got to hit the spring yet.
He does not. He's got to walk. But and that's what I was gonna lean into, is that He's one of the guys that's an interesting case. He does not have any options. So you wouldn't be able to just send him down. He would have to go through waivers. But, and one thing that I'm seeing is that they're putting him out there against anybody. In spring training, you're going to see 8 different pitchers in a game. So it's not like, oh, just start Jahmai because the lefty starter is going to go 5 innings. So he's facing a lot of righties. He did draw a walk against a righty, but yes, he doesn't have a hit yet. He doesn't have defensive versatility either. So that's going to be interesting to play out. Something to keep an eye on, because I don't think he's earned enough skin in the game to be like, oh no, we'll let it ride out. Great. He had an amazing game last year. I mean, an amazing season last year. And I say that he saved the season last year, but he is a journeyman. He is a guy that's never played a full year in the major league. So, hey, he may be falling back into reality. But any other thoughts?
No, yeah. I mean, he's also a guy who can swipe some bags, which is something that we obviously really lacked last year. And I think that also kind of it makes the final decision in terms of the 26th man that much more challenging for Scott Harris and the team and AJ, because you're now looking at your 2 biggest base guys, Parker and Jahmai, potentially not starting on a regular basis, and Parker potentially at risk eventually, if that continues, being sent down. So then you're really not left with much speed at all, because let's be real, whoever you bring up is just not as fast as those 2 guys, especially Parker being as tall and long as he is. That's just, you can't teach that or overcome to teach that or overteach to make up that disparity. So they'll become less dependent on base stealing, not that they were much last year, and true first to third like they were. But yeah, I mean, Perez has options with Bierling coming in hot. And we kind of teased it a little bit earlier, but there was another guy that we kept on the protected from the Rule 5. I think your boy that you've been doing a good job highlighting, Trey Cruz, has been making noise. He is absolutely raking and playing a lot of the outfield. So he's throwing his own name into the ring. And I believe you mentioned he's already, 27, 28? Like
28 in July.
Yeah. So it's boom or bust. Yeah. I mean, look, they've got some guys that are coming up and making them make some tough decisions. And that's frankly what the spot you'd rather be in than a lot of guys not doing much of anything. And you got to still have to make decisions, but it's not as maybe positive of an outlook potentially going in. So We'll see. There's a lot of guys that still have to recover and get healthy and get situated. But, Cole Keith still has to be found a spot somewhere most days. And he's played some third and some second. And so it's just crazy. Like we said, there's a lot to unpack right here. So, we just got to see these guys play a lot of the defensive spots. But I think McGonigal eventually will end up moving off short. I think we've talked about probably he'll grade out better as a second baseman than a shortstop.
Yeah, Gleyber replacement for sure.
Yeah, right. Because there's no way Gleyber stays after this year easily for sure. And then at the end of it, the guy that was an all-star last year as a utility guy, then it's like, where does he fit in Zach McKinstry? So there's a lot to juggle around right there. But he very well could end up being the guy that, look, man, you were great for us. We love you. It's just there's just nowhere really ideally for you. And that would also be another speed guy that you would be, not relying on. So
yeah, I think Trey's spot's gonna be McKinstry's. I think he'll be traded unless he has another all-star first half. That's a guy that you trade and who's valuable, and any team can benefit from him. Let's catch up on MSU Detroit fan. He said, sucks Dylan isn't playing, but I do like seeing Thayron Lorenzo. Yeah, he had a 3-run home run this week. Riley has speed, so I wouldn't mind him walking. Absolutely. Well, he's got decent speed. He's a decent base runner. Dingler DH while Jake catches. I believe we see that at the beginning of the season when Skubal was still using Jake to catch. Yeah. maybe I don't know if I want. I don't want to see. I don't want to see Jake. You don't want. I mean, Dylan it would be a good DH, but you don't want to waste a bat with Jake Rogers every day. But
Yes.
maybe it depends. It's
Like a
early. The
lefty
fact,
starter, that would be a good combo for a lefty starter if they wanted to give Dylan a break behind the dish. They're
yeah.
both righties against a lefty, so in theory.
But yeah. But I think even at your best, if Jemai gets back to hitting the way he wants, you want to utilize him as opposed to Jake Rogers. He said Dingler didn't become the full time catcher until Jake had the early injury and Tomas Nido came up. Yeah, it just kind of fell into play for him. Worked out great. I mean, Dingler legit might be an all star this year. And when I say catcher one, I mean Scooby using Dingler, not Rogers. Yeah. Parker's bat is killing a possible trade. Gotta hope that glove can draw some value. Nah, nobody wants Parker right now. I hate to say it. Bierlin can play third also. Yeah, that's why he's a lock. He's a lock for the 26 man. He said he did play third in the 24 playoffs. Yeah. And he would have played last year had he been healthy, but he hasn't been. So yeah, let's get to the second break, and then we'll continue talking about the bets. All right. So we talked about the options. Right now, Wenzel Perez has 3 minor league options, which in my opinion is going to make him a guy that if he doesn't turn things around, I think that's an easy decision to let him sit down. Because for the most part, the only time he's gone down since he was called up 2 years ago was for injury. That's it. He's never been sent down. Parker Meadows has 1 option left. So it's kind of end of the road for him, for him to figure it out. And like I said, Jemai Jones has 0. So I don't know if that helps or hurts him, but obviously we don't have the ability to say, all right, well, let you see some success at AAA and bring you back up. There's a chance that somebody might go out and get him. They're going to look at those stats last year, see that 99-40 OPS and be like, ooh, we unlocked this. We got a dog. But the defensive versatility is the lack of defensive versatility is going to hurt him. And the fact that he can't hit righties. I mean, he's very much pigeonholed into one specific role. And similar to Ibanez, once that role was gone and was like, see ya. So, MSU Detroit, Green at center, Vierling at left. No, I think Vierling in center and Green in left. I don't think I want to see Green in center field. McGonigal doesn't make if McGonigal doesn't make the team. You know what? I think that with Trey Sweeney going on the 60-man, that opens up a spot for him to fall in. And that's crazy. We haven't even got a chance to talk about him, but I think that the Sweeney switch situation makes an easy decision for us as far as who can replace him. I mean, they both play shortstop essentially. MSU Detroit, I got lineup predictions. Most are the same with other scenarios based on Kevin. Yeah, Kevin's going to be the big. He's going to be the big factor, and it's funny that. We might as well just get to talking about McGonigal, but if we're being the big hype has been Connor Griffin early on. He had the 2 home runs. I don't think they were in the same game. I think they were consecutive games, but his average, I think he's hitting like 1 something. That's the 2 home runs have been the extent of his success. So although everybody's been saying Connor Griffin's the head and shoulders #1 prospect, Kevin has continued to rake. I think he had 2 hits of exit velocity 107 in the same inning, because this is one of those games where we were just kind of batting around. But we've seen hard contact to the opposite field. We've seen it to the pull side. I think it's all but certain that he could have really helped us last year. Like, he's one of the better hitters on the team already, and he's 20 years old. So It's going to be a lot of pressure. I know they want to do that, manipulation of that time manipulation and all that. But if we're being honest and we're putting the best players on the field right now, even if he was just a bench bat, he is worthy of that. So if he mess around and continues to hit the way he's hitting, it's gonna be interesting. What are your thoughts? What is your if spring training started today, is McGonigal on the starting roster?
I mean, it's funny because you brought up Sweeney, and I was going to say that he was one of two other names that we hadn't even touched yet, that they're all intertwined in these decision makings, because everything, if it's not a guy that had the same position last year that was already on the team, it's going to have an impact somewhere else on the 40-man, right? And the other guy being Jace Jung, all of a sudden playing first base the other day after they said he would look at getting some looks. He's actually hitting the ball pretty decently. And then, heaven forbid, we get a non-roster invitee in this Chris Julks, who's absolutely mashing, coming out of nowhere. I mean, he has
grand slam yesterday.
He has no threat of making the 40-man, but damn, he's going to leave Lakeland with the front office thinking, okay, we're gonna pay attention to this guy going forward, and we're gonna track his progress, and he's going to have maybe a guy that we have to potentially fast track for a higher minor league level. So that's kind of the interesting thing of all of it. But to get to McGonigal, dude, look, the Trey Sweeney thing just didn't work out. I think it's just time to move on. He probably deserves a better, fuller opportunity with another organization to unlock whatever talent he still has that is not coming to the surface yet. Because let's be fair, with him and Perez being younger, of course, they're not getting any regular time, and sure as hell not Sweeney. And Perez has been a part-time player for the last 2 years. And I think he can improve with regular time down in Toledo, because that's what it's there for, to get regular ABs, play almost every day, and become more confident in his ability when he comes up that he's ready to go and contribute at a more consistent pace, at a more impactful nature as well. So I think you say, thanks, Trey, best of luck. And you do keep McGonigal as at bar minimum a bench bat, and you figure out a way to get him in the field.
Now, but he's on a 60-day right now, correct?
So you mentioned that, and I hadn't heard him being on injury related. So that's news to me.
Let me see. I thought I saw that. Okay. No, okay. Dealing with right shoulder strain, surface during defensive drills. Day-to-day throwing paused. Late February, the injury occurred. Okay, maybe not. Maybe he's not.
But yeah, I mean, if he were to go on the 60-day, then that would obviously open up a spot, and then it would be a no-brainer.
Right. It makes it easy.
You already have Baez. You already have McKinstry. I mean, hell, I feel like if Vierling can play third and short, or third and second and first in the outfield, that athletically he could probably play short okay if you had to. Like, we have enough potential avenues, and this guy came up originally as a shortstop, I believe. So it just makes the most sense. It just does.
All right. So I take that back. He's not on the 60-day. Maybe that was something that somebody threw out there as a potential opportunity. Because it still says that he's day-to-day, and his return, it could be sometime in spring training. So that's not the case. But I think the biggest, the guys are on the bubble right now for me: Meadows, Jones, Jahmai Jones, and Perez. Because I think that bench, that right-handed bat off the bench is kind of up for grabs, and that would be the spot that Corey Julks would be able to snag up. But you got to move the 40 around because he's not on that. But he could be this year's Jahmai Jones, because Jahmai Jones just came in as a guy that nobody really knew about. He raked out of spring training. He didn't make the team out of spring training, but first opportunity he got, he grabbed the reins, hit a home run in the first game for the Cubs, and the rest is history. So it's going to be tough. I mean, he can play corner outfield. I think he's playing a tiny bit of center field, but he is 30, so he's another guy that is a career journeyman. Doesn't really have a lot of major league experience, but somebody to keep an eye on. He already has a grand slam. No, he has 2 home runs. One was a solo, one was a grand slam, and he has a triple as well. So if he continues to make noise, the pitching is going to be there. You got to put the best hitters on the field along with that. So I definitely got my eye out on him. As we look at the statistics right now, we already talked about it. Vierling's playing well. He's got 5 hits. He's got 5 hits. He's in 455. Max Anderson, that's all he's done is hit. He's continued to hit. He's got 3 RBIs in 6 games. Okay, you talked about it, Jace Young. Now, with him playing third and him also playing first, that sounds like somebody else I know, Cole Keith.
Yeah.
Do you see, are they battling for position right now? Cole Keith is also, I think he played first base yesterday, and I think McGonigal played third. I'm not sure who was playing third, but do you see, are they lobbying? I know that they've invested and put something into Colt. I know that he always starts slow. Do we just say, hey, we'll see you in June, Colt? You're good here because we'll see you in June. Like, has he earned that type of, because I know the Torques and the Carpenters, they started slow. It is what it is. They're not going anywhere as far as I'm concerned. But do you think that the Young and Colt thing is a thing right now?
Well, see, that's the interesting thing. Look at a lot of these young guys that we're talking about. They're almost all predominantly left-handed hitters and not switch hitters either. So we can't just purely see the numbers, not taking anything else into consideration and say, all right, these are the best hitters right now. Well, shit, 8 of the best 11 are all left-handed. Heaven forbid we face a lefty and we just get carved up because we, struggle, same side with lefties. Well, then teams are going to be like, okay, well, we might bring up a kid for this series coming up against you who's a lefty and force you to make some tough decisions. So I think with the whole Jahmai Jones and Colt Keith as right-handed hitters, and obviously Jahmai would be off the bench and spot starts here and there against lefties. It is an emphasis on their stock because there are fewer right-handed hitters on this team traditionally. Perez being a switch hitter, he sees way more righties, so he's going to get the bulk of his at-bats as a lefty. So right. You kind of factor him as predominantly a lefty too. So that leaves you with what Gleyber, Colt, Jahmai, Torque, and Dingler, with obviously Rogers being a righty behind him. But in terms of the starters, that's only 4 guys. Torque is going to get 80, 90, 85, 90% of the starts at first and playing 95% of all games, including DHing. Just pure out of necessity. You just don't want to
Vierling too, as far as righties are concerned. Vierling.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and Vierling too. Yeah, good point there too. But we totally forget that he's healthy again after missing almost all of last year. Right. So you don't want to overload yourself with too many one-sided bats, and then all of a sudden you accidentally handcuff yourself against the other side, just basing it on numbers. And this is kind of the thing we talked about last year in terms of AJ just blindly trusting the analytics too much and not taking into more of the human factor and their impact. We can go back to Kerry, lefty on lefty. Yeah, I would love to see more of that. He needs to. And we sent the clip from Sean Casey talking about it. Like, look, AJ's one of the best managers, if not the best, but Kerry has got to play every single day like Torkelson. I think those two are going to be in the same boat in that aspect. But to get back to the point about Young and all that, they have options. And that's the benefit with Scott Harris. He's got that flexibility. But if we're looking at cutting a guy, I think Jahmai Jones might be the one over Colt that he has much more limited role. And let's be real, Colt's numbers in terms of barrel contact, exit velocity, he hits line to line, and he does still have some power. He has more to offer offensively than Jahmai did, more of like a clutch situation, a clutch hitter in spots, spot games.
Yeah. And Colt, I mean, there's just, as far as the investment aspect, I mean, he's Jahmai is making maybe $1 million, and
Yeah.
Colt. So
he'll get something for Colt for sure, because he's cheap, like you said. I think he's got 2 more years left, not that $6 million AAV, which is dirt cheap compared to what some of these other veterans are getting 2x, 3x times that for 1 year. So you get friendly terms with that if it were to come to that. But it would have to be a crazy offer for Harris to say no to in that aspect.
Yeah. And we talked about it offline as far as the outfield situation and us possibly looking to move one of these outfielders like a Trey Cruz or something like that. We can certainly use some more pitching depth, so it's something to consider. But outside of that, Valencia, he's got a home run already. I think that bench righty bat is kind of up for grabs right now. So that's where a Valencia comes into play. Lorenzo, him being a switch hitter, gives you some versatility. He's got a 3-run home run as well. But other than that, pretty early. One good game will turn your average around from a 1 something to a 3 something. So it's hard to take that into consideration. No reservations about Clark and Briseño struggling. We know that they're a ways away. They would have only complicated things if Clark just comes out tearing it up or Briseño starts tearing it up. So I'm okay with that. But yeah, anything else as far as what you've seen thus far from the hitters, or also who are you looking to see over the next few weeks, just as we get some more of a sample size?
As far as a hitting standpoint, just because of all the names have been thrown around out there, and literally we've touched on almost everyone that hasn't been sent to fall, a different league already at this point. I think a couple other guys were just sent to the Dominican, I think, or were tabbed to will go play somewhere in the Dominican here, some other non-roster invitees. I think probably maybe Max Anderson, just because there's so much emphasis on everyone else that's already there, and McConnell, obviously, and Clark for non-baseball reasons. More recently, we'll get into that here in a moment. But from a actual on-field aspect, I think Max Anderson will be interesting. I mean, Vierling is kind of proving that, he is healthy. He's ready to go. I have no second question about his impact for this year. I think he go back to what he was 2 years ago and being a regular contributor. And yeah, I mean, we've talked about it too, but I think Parker's obviously the other side of that too, in terms of not being obscure, a guy who is in the front of our news, I guess you'd say. He has to get it going too, but I don't think he gets sent down to start. I think he's a bench guy, and if it continues in limited spots where he still can't do it, then I think at that point he would be sent down, which would then potentially leave the door open for Max Clark, maybe. So maybe.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah, the guys that I'm paying attention to right now, Corey Jokes. If he continues to mesh, it's going to make things interesting. You're going to have to justify it one way or another. Jahmai Jones, he's got to get it going, because he's essentially, I mean, Jokes is looking like his replacement at this point. Early on, Juancil Perez, I'm looking, because he's, like I said, he's a guy that's got options. He didn't really have a spring training, so this is kind of his opportunity to, do something. And I think he's a guy that would have some value. There's some teams that could definitely use a versatile outfielder who some switch hits that at times looks like he could be an all-star, and sometimes it's just like, you know. But
he's
yeah,
not
I
a
mean,
negative fielder, so that's a
right,
plus, honestly. So yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Cole Keith, he starts slow. We get it, but he's our everyday third baseman. Um, as of right now, but you got guys like Veerling that can play that position. You got young hitters like McGonigal that can play that position as well. Even a Max Anderson. Oh, the point I was going to make about Max Anderson, they say that he's kind of he's a average second baseman at best. He made a nice diving catch earlier this week. Some of these guys are cutting weight and getting a little bit more athletic, and they trying to make a team. So he's a guy that flourishes with runners in scoring position, and he's hit all last year, hit in the Arizona Fall League. Yeah, we got to put the best hitters out there, and if you can show that you can play defense as well, it's like, let's make it happen. And the last guy is Parker Meadows, of course. We love his defense. We love his speed. He's a guy that has a high ceiling, but you can't be hitting zero anything for more than at least a week. So, once again, we got guys waiting in the wings. Trey Cruz, he's played. Let me see where he's at on here. 3 for 9 so far, 2 RBIs, 3 walks as well. So he's shown that over long periods of time. He had 100 walks last year at the minor league level. So he's shown that he can play any and every position. He can hit for power. He can get on base, and you don't, like we say, you don't protect a guy like that at the age of 27 going on 28 if you're not planning on using him. Either you're boosting him up to trade him, or you plan on playing him, because it's like there's not too many options there. So
Yes.
but yeah, that's about it. Everybody saw, who's pitching today. Scooble on the bump. That's why I'm wearing my Scooble shirt. But we're also going to get a first look at Kenley Jansen and Finnegan and Vest, and I didn't realize that Scooble had name dropped what's his name?
Was it De La Santos or De La?
Oh, Emmanuel De Jesus.
Manuel, yeah.
So I'm definitely interested to see, because he didn't have to say that. This guy's not even on the 40-man roster, I don't think so. So that should be interesting to see. And yeah, man, let's damn, have I missed? I've not looked at MSU Detroit fans.
Right, yeah.
He's got predictions. I'd be interested to see his predictions. He said if McGonigal makes a 26 man, I want him to actually be used. Oh yeah, I think, and it's gonna be electric when he gets that first at bat, and he's pretty much a can't miss prospect, and he's continuing to prove it. So yeah, it's gonna be lit. Kind of like what Reverend say with Sebastian Cosa. Okay, yeah, Cosa's been lights out. They already clinched. They clinched like the earliest that anybody ever has since like 90. I think they said 93 or something crazy like that. Max Clark is decent, but he's going to need some time to cook in Toledo. That'll be great, honestly. If they push him up to Toledo, yeah. Plus, he'll be easy.
Toledo's going to be fun this year. Don't matter who gets over there, they're going to be loaded, and it's going to be fun to watch down there in Toledo, big time.
Yeah, Briseño, probably Max Anderson again, possibly Trey Cruz.
Some of these guys didn't make it up there last year, so they'll all be newer faces to true Toledo Mud fans there regionally. So they're going to be excited. Anyway, we finalized the 26 man. So.
And if in MSU Detroit fan, if you're still here, yeah, Jose Briseño's been hasn't really.
Didn't he have a dinger?
Not yet.
No, okay.
Not yet. He's got 2 for 6, I guess. But for some reason, it says that he's No, 2 for 12. He's 6 games. So he's been playing. It's like I said, it's so tough because um they throw these guys in. They don't even have the names displayed out there. You kind of gotta, you gotta keep your eye out, and they get out there for defensive reps at first base or catcher, especially if they're a catcher. You don't know that Briseño's back there playing catcher. So yeah, he's been quiet. He
And
was
they don't
quiet
have the
last. Huh?
they don't have the names in the back of their jersey. So to your point too, you see the obscure number out there, you're like, who is that?
Right. I think guys like Clark and McGonigal and Briseño, I think they do. But when you get down to the Tiger Town guys wearing number 83, I think John Peck is wearing 94. And we haven't even talked about him. He has been mashing. He's a non-roster invite. He'll probably start in I think he got up to AA last year, but he might get that bump up to AAA because he's slowly starting to show that, because I think he's mostly projected as like a bench utility guy that can play over the infield. But hey, you continue to hit, you're gonna work your way onto a major league roster eventually. I mean, he was one of those guys that kind of played the background in AA because McGonigal and Clark and Pacheco and all those guys were there. So even those guys that play the background, I mean, they were mashing too. I mean, pretty much everybody was. Let me pull up John Peck. So last year, wow, pretty good. 11 home runs, 69 RBIs, 792 OPS, 301 average, hit for average. So yeah, quietly, 7th-round pick, so doesn't have the doesn't have the stain that your McGonigals have, but producing and producing it in spring training too, mostly on the tail end of it. But yeah. So, and what does it say? Yeah, it's got him with the Whitecaps hat on. So he got up to AA last year. But yeah, I think that that draft is gonna go down in history when you think about the fact that you got Max Clark and Kevin McGonigal in the first two rounds, and they're both pretty much panning out. So
Yeah, sprinkle Jackson Jobe in there too.
yeah, which that draft was before, right?
For Harris, I think that was his first. I thought it was his first year.
But Jobe wasn't in the Clark draft, was it? He was a first round pick.
No, I think it was the year after. Because Clark's had a longer progression in the minors compared to Jobe.
Because he's out of high school, yeah. But Jobe's out of high school. Jobe out of high school?
I thought maybe he played 1 year in college, maybe. But I could be wrong.
I don't know what college you went to. Let me see. Let's do it. He's 23.
Out of high school. He did go out of high school.
Oh, okay. So he was before.
He committed to Ole Miss. He would have gone to Ole Miss if he would have played that route.
Okay, but it must have been a draft before because he's already 23 years old.
Yeah, 2021. So yeah, it would have been 2 years actually, I think, because Harris was what, 23?
Oh, so this Peck draft pick might have been the same year as Clark and them, because what would that have been? 24? Maybe that was 24. So
yeah.
But yeah, so I think we pretty much covered everybody hitting wise. Any closing words?
Because we talked about it yesterday offline. Gage Workman, our bases clearing triple yesterday. Like, come on, what are we doing here?
Hey, and he we didn't protect him last year. He went to the Cubs for a cup of coffee, struggled, and he came right back. So so yeah, he's still out here grinding. Oh, MSU Detroit fans got some more. And Max Clark. Oh no, we already said that. Oh no, never mind. We covered it. We up to date. Yeah. Tater's still making it happen. He'll be back in AAA this year, I would assume. But yeah, go ahead.
Nito's having a good spring with the bat too. Like that's kind of what we got him for last. Tomas Nito.
Oh, Nito. Oh, hey, I'm
Like,
telling you, whatever. As soon as he
like,
put on the Tigers uniform, he just gets to work. I don't know.
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think we talked about it too over the past week. This new era of baseball that we're kind of evolving into, analytics, ABS, and all this other stuff. That there's now there's more focus on not just your top few prospects, but your farm systems overall. So there's more emphasis on their progression and people tracking them, which I think is really cool. Because usually it was kind of just in the shadows. You really had to go digging and asking the right people for their opinion and maybe catch some scout tape, some film somewhere. But now all that stuff is more streamlined and out there for everyone to see. So I just do want to say, like, let's just be a little patient here. These guys are all progressing and they're learning 2-3 positions, which, when we grew up, bro, we would be like 2 positions. What? No, I play 1. I play 1 because that's all I play. Now you got guys that are playing corner outfield, corner infield. We joked about was it Cruz? I'm like, this guy's going to play all 9 positions in one game.
He literally, and it's like spread pretty distributed pretty evenly. Like, not like he doesn't lean on one. It's like literally, we want you to play everywhere. Like, hey, that's a good sign.
I feel like it's morphing to like when NFL Combine, they label if you're not like one of the Sanders brothers is was a receiver DB. So they just list him as ATH for athlete. I feel like this is what a lot of these guys are becoming. They're not being just a third baseman or a power hitting first baseman, which is still a thing, obviously, in majors. It's not really going away, but
for sure.
You got guys going from second to third and short to second, like at an unbelievable rate. So I think more teams are open to that flexibility, not just platooning, but seeing where they can grade out better to get the most out of their ability. So,
yeah. And don't forget, Torkelson was playing left field last year in spring training. That was a travesty, but it was kind of hilarious to watch. So,
yeah.
But yeah, we are at the hour mark. I feel like we covered a whole lot, and there's more. I'm sure we'll have more to talk about soon. Because we're about to get into the World Baseball Classic. We got the Dominican, the 2 games in the Dominican, and a lot of our guys are going down there. But yeah, it's exciting. But yeah, subscribe to the channel. We are on Bleachers to Speakers, as well as Corner to Copa, covering everything Detroit sports. We're going to be giving you, some shorts and some updates and some player profiles. Stay tuned. If you are trying to get up on the prospects, we're going to be feeding you guys a ton of player profiles, and just getting everybody up to date on things. So it's full speed ahead right now as we get closer and closer to the regular season. But yeah, I'm excited. Everything is coming together. We got hot prospects that are making things happen and making it real interesting for AJ and Scotty Boy. So we will see you guys next week.
Get your lick back. If a nugget gon' do something, ain't no chit chat. Better stay up out the way, don't get your shit splat. Stop letting this shit slide and get